Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about the transit of the year. Now, if I ask any of the astrology enthusiasts what is the transit of the year, it quite certainly is Jupiter's transit in Aries, which just happened on April 22nd from the sign of Pisces, which is its own sign, its own house. It has moved to the sign of Aries in the nakshatra of Ashwini. So that happened on April 22nd. It is a long transit. Why this transit is important? Because this transit only happens once in 12 years. Yes, last time it was 12 years ago when Jupiter was transiting in the sign of Aries. And this is a long time period. So from April 22nd of 2023 till about 1st of May, past midnight, is when 2024 is when Jupiter is going to stay in this sign of Aries. It is going to go through three nakshatras. Primarily, for most of the time, I think more than 90% of the time, it is going to stay in Ashwini and in Bharani nakshatra. And towards the last phase of its transit, it is going to make a move for a few days in Kritika nakshatra. During this transit, there are certain dates which are very important. So I'd like to share with you some key dates. And then through this transit video and my explanation, how I want to perhaps share this with you is I'm going to do it in 2 or 3 parts. So in the first part, I'm going to discuss some important aspects of Jupiter, some key dates, and in a very mundane manner, in a very natural manner, how this transit is going to have an impact on you. How to read this transit primarily, from your chart. What houses are going to get active in your chart so that you can perhaps have some analysis. The second and third part of the video would be more about the signs and how it is going to impact different ascendant signs, different moon signs, based on the natal placement of Jupiter in your chart, and also based on this transit, which is in the sign of Aries. Okay, so this is a long time period, right? So certain key dates which we must sort of keep in mind, that Jupiter is going through the nakshatra of Ashwini and is going to stay in the nakshatra of Ashwini till about June 21st. So June 21st is when it will move from the nakshatra of Ashwini to the nakshatra of Bharani. So Ashwini is ruled by Ketu, Bharani is ruled by Venus. So this is also a very important point to consider while assessing this transit. Okay, and then on September 4th, 2023, Jupiter is going to go retrograde. And then November 26th is when Jupiter will be back in the nakshatra of Ashwini. And Jupiter is going to go retrograde for about 118 days, which is till the end of the year. So from September 4th till about December 31st, Jupiter is going to go retrograde. And that's a period of 118 days. Okay, very important because that is a time when perhaps karmic incidents related to the first house or the sign of Aries, wherever it is placed in your chart, and Jupiter will perhaps come into account. Okay, and then Jupiter goes direct on December 31st, 2023. Okay, and this perhaps moves through further into Bharani and then Kritika towards the end of its transit, which is be sometime in April. Okay, 1st of May 2024, it will transit to the sign of Taurus. Okay, now during this transit, currently Jupiter is also combust. Okay, that means it's in close proximity of Sun or Surya, and it is going to be combust till about 1st of May. Now, the combustion did not really start on April 22nd. Jupiter has been combust since the beginning of April itself. Until about 1st of May, it is going to go combust. So, which means that at this point in time, Jupiter is quite weak. Now, through this video, I also want to perhaps remove some fear mongering that has been created. Primarily Jupiter being in Gandanta. So Gandanta is a concept of, one graha moves from a watery sign to a fire sign. Okay, so we call it the karmic knot, which is Gandanta. Okay, now during transit, Gandanta really does not make a graha or a planet weak, but combustion does make a planet weak. So I can conclude that till about 1st of May, Jupiter is extremely weak. So it'll take some time, for it to perhaps deliver results, let's say from mid-May onwards. The other fear mongering that I also want to remove is, we all know that there's a Guru Chandal yoga because Rahu is currently transiting in the sign of Aries, and it is going to go and perhaps move signs sometime in October. So from now till about October, end of October, Jupiter and Rahu are conjunct in the sign of Aries, which creates a Guru Chandal yoga. Now, let me perhaps, throw some light on it, that this yoga is not, all negative. Okay, there are positive significance as well because Rahu is the planet of technology. It is the planet that rules the natural 11th house. It is a planet of social circle. So that's what 11th house really represents. It's the social circle, it is gains, it is friends, it is the whole social network. Jupiter is all about expansion. So this means that, the advancement that we're seeing with regards to the overall technology is going to continue to get a massive, boost in different ways of doing things. So it's a perfect time to perhaps upskill, pick up, learn a skill or two to perhaps keep up the pace. So that's very much important. Okay, now during this transit, Jupiter is in its friendly sign of Aries. Jupiter and Mars are good friends, and Mars rules the sign of Aries. Rahu is not transiting in a friendly sign, so Rahu does not really consider Mars as its friend. Therefore, Jupiter has a strong say in this conjunction. Okay, so if you have a nicely placed Jupiter in your chart, you don't really be bothered about this Guru Chandal yoga that is there. And even during this transit, Jupiter has a greater say. It is lower in the degree at this point in time, as in when it will progress further, Rahu is going retrograde, they will come sort of in close contact as well. But for the majority of the period of time, till about end of October, Jupiter is going to have a greater say or a control. And let me remind you, the only planet, the only graha that can control Rahu, that can pacify Rahu is Jupiter, that can guide Rahu in the right direction to perhaps make right decision and help you come out of that illusion. So those people who are particularly going through Rahu Madasha, they are going to see a significant amount of relief during this period if your previous months have been challenging. So that's something which I can say. Now during this transit, Aries is the natural first house of the Kalpurusha Kundli. It is a fiery sign. It is a sign of self-confidence. It is a sign of your own self. It is the head. So for that matter, first house is certainly active. Now from a nakshatra cycle point of view, the first three nakshatras, which is Ashwini, Bharani, and Kritika, ruled by Ketu, Venus, and Sun, respectively. Now, when Jupiter transits through these nakshatras, okay, there's the first cycle which is activated, okay, based on the nakshatra, analysis. The first cycle is all about the first house, okay, which is all about self. It is all about your soul, okay, and it's about you, right? So a lot of time for people to perhaps, put focus on your own self-confidence, removing that doubt, and the time put some plans in place and a lot of focus that is going to be on your own self, which is great, from a mundane perspective. So we would perhaps see how people change the way of doing things and perhaps focus on their own well-being. So that is also a good remedy, during this transit. Now, I mean, mostly this transit is quite positive because let me also share this perspective with you that Jupiter, while it was in the sign of Pisces for the last 1 year or so, these days people look at, things which can support. I mean, 12th house is all about, it's all about losses, it's all about spirituality. So from a spiritual perspective, it was a great transit. Jupiter certainly was in strength. But from a mundane and a material perspective, not the best transit, at all. And, if people were expecting perhaps, new opportunities, expansion, growth, so that would have been sort of halted, for that point in time because Jupiter really does not want anything, while in the sign of Pisces. It perhaps wants you to, give away. It wants you to expand your spiritual horizon. And now, when it comes to the sign of Aries, it is time to perhaps put that thinking into practice. It is time for action. The natural ninth lord is transiting in the first house. So, this is also a time wherein we'll see a lot of upliftment in dharma, in spiritual practices, in teaching, in preaching, more or less higher learning. Natural ninth lord being in the first house is also going to give a lot of boost in the travel and tourism industry. So there's going to be long distance travel that people will perhaps venture all throughout the year, which has already perhaps started increasing as we sort of emerge out of the pandemic period. Okay, that is there. Now, from the activation point of view, it is going to activate the first cycle. Okay. It is going to be in the nakshatra of Ashwini from now till about June 21st. Okay. And then in November, it's going to come back in Ashwini nakshatra while it goes retrograde. Now, at that point in time, we must pay a close attention to the ruler of Ashwini nakshatra, which is Ketu. Okay. Now, from a general transit perspective, wherever the house of Aries is in your chart, the sign of Aries in your chart, whichever house it is placed in, okay, it'll be interesting to see some developments with regards to that house because Jupiter is transiting there. Okay, Jupiter is also going to aspect. It has a fifth aspect, it has a seventh aspect, and it has a ninth aspect. So it is going to aspect the sign of Leo, it's going to aspect the sign of Libra, and it is going to aspect its own sign of Sagittarius. There, its Multikon sign. Okay. Now, quite certainly, if you have any grahas that are placed here, okay, or if you're going through the Mahadasha of Jupiter, or any of the grahas that are placed in any of the signs, okay, you are certainly going to have an impact of this sign. If you're also going through Saturn Mahadasha, because Saturn is aspecting Jupiter by its third aspect, which is a 100% aspect. So you're again likely to see its impact. But in other cases, if there is perhaps lack of connection, during the Mahadasha, Antardasha, or Pratantardasha, then this transit will not have any sort of major impact on you. So the first say is always about the Dasha, and then we look at the transit to perhaps understand whether certain promises that are made will be fructified or not. Okay. Now, coming back to the nakshatra part, while it will be in Ashwini nakshatra, which is ruled by Ketu, okay, so this is the time when so Ketu co-rules the sign of Scorpio. So this is the time when this particular sign is going to be active. So which means wherever Scorpio falls in your chart, it's going to have an impact. The grahas that are placed there, if they play a role in any of the dasha or mahadasha, so that's where you are going to have an impact. Okay. Now, Ketu also gets exalted in the sign of Scorpio, and it also gets exalted in the sign of Sagittarius. There are two different schools of thoughts. I'm going to take both, okay, here. So you're going to see some positive results based on these houses. So if you have planets placed here, if these signs rule some important houses in your chart, you're definitely going to see some positive results of these houses or the signs in your chart. When Jupiter is going to transit in the nakshatra of Bharani, okay, which is from June till about November, and then in 2024 it is again going to perhaps transit back to Bharani. So Bharani is ruled by Venus. So this is a time period, please make a note, June 21st till about November 26th, okay, wherever the sign of Pisces is placed in your chart, because Venus gets exalted in Pisces, you are going to see very good results for that particular sign or the grahas that are placed there. Okay, and that sign is also ruled by Jupiter. So that is one particular period which perhaps I can say could bring some fruitful results, regardless of the Guru Chandal Yoga, right? So till about June, it's a bit, sort of a tricky situation, but after that, till about November, it's, good. And also, Venus rules the sign of Taurus and the sign of Libra, so 2 and 7. That is also going to be pretty much active throughout that time, okay, particularly, right? Besides the first, sign of Aries, Leo, Libra, and then Sagittarius as well, okay. Now, also, please make a note that with regards to transit, Jupiter's fifth aspect and the ninth aspect is 100% aspect. So that means quite prominent Leo, quite prominent Sagittarius, but about 50% of Libra, like throughout the transit, because the seventh aspect is not 100% aspect. Okay, that's there. When it is, sort of transiting through Ashwini Nakshatra, Scorpio is pretty much active. When Bharani, it is Taurus, Libra, and of course, good results of Pisces. That's pretty much active there. But throughout this, sort of period of 1 year, it is interesting to see that Saturn is continue to be transiting in the sign of and moving in the sign of Aquarius. That's where it is. And based on the double transit, it is the sign of Leo, which is pretty much going to be active all throughout the period of 1 year. Why? Because it is being aspected by both Jupiter and Saturn during this time. Okay, so Leo is the natural fifth house of the Kalpurusha chart. Okay, it is about knowledge, it is about creativity. Fifth house is also the throne, it is a king. So there could be some unbelievable leadership changes. Certain people who are on the throne, with regards to some governments in the world, are definitely going to go through some major transformation, some major changes, some very surprising elements. But mostly, these changes would be very much supported by the people. There'll be popular changes. Right, so let's see how the sort of whole political regime plays a role, particularly in India and also in the US. You could see some very much sort of positive decisions within the leadership and changes over the next 1 year or so, which are going to be welcomed by people. Okay, so that's more from a double transit perspective. Okay, Jupiter is transiting through a very fiery sign, very action oriented sign, which is Aries. Okay, and Jupiter is a very gaseous planet. It represents ether. So when fire and ether, which is a kind of gas that comes into place, so during this summer phase, there could be on a mundane level some fire related incidents, particularly in green areas and in jungles. This could cause a lot of smoke, fire, and some amount of loss and destruction to certain green areas, and it could be at a massive, level. So that's something which is, quite highly likely, during this period. Throughout 2023, particularly from summer June till about end of year, we could see such incidents which could be sort of hard to control. But then, all in all, Jupiter represents spirituality, higher learning, wisdom, sharing of knowledge. So, I mean, that is something which we must continue to do: learn, upskill, share your knowledge with the others. Right. One of the things that people need to also be mindful of is while being in, the first sign of Aries and Jupiter being expansion, right? So take care of what you intake, and sort of eat, because it is likely going to have an impact on your whole body. So wherever Jupiter sits, it expands. Aries is the natural sign of body as well, so that's something which we must take into account. Okay, while studying this transit. It's simple. You can watch the video again. You can check out the key dates here, which would be flashing as well. And in the next video, I'm going to talk about its impact on different signs, Aries through Pisces, how it is going to have an impact on your ascendant or on your moon sign. I mean, for some of the signs, it'll do well. For some, it would not do well. So that is how transits are read. So it's not always at 100% good, but the results are always mixed. There are ups and downs, there are highs and lows, and I'm going to talk about it and keep it simple for you. And I hope so within this 1 year. Okay, as Jupiter transits through my 11th house as well, I continue to build my social network. I continue to make more videos, and continue to share as much as I can from the very little that I have learned with you all. Thank you very much. And if you wish to subscribe to my channel, please hit the bell icon. Okay. Subscribe, share it with your friends. If you wish to book a consultation with me, check out the links in the comment section, and also the link to my website that is flashing here. I do intend to make a lot more videos over the next 1 year or so while Jupiter continues to bless us. Om Guru Namah, and thank you very much.